Alright, welcome to Deconstructed. I'm your host, Sam Animo Mackenzie, here with Harry Nero Richards, the greatest mind in Counter-Strike. And today we're going to be talking about NAVI. Well, don't laugh. Just take it, alright?
It's
Just take
referential
it.
from the bat, isn't it? It's not great.
Yeah, well, let's not pretend like you wouldn't say it. Anyway, so, NAVI, right? His team won a major with one sizable difference. And since then, they've been a bit shit. Or, maybe not shit. Shit might be unfair. But they've certainly not been, that team that won a major. Sure, they got to some finals, but did they ever really look like winning them? Not really sure. Right. Fast
Yes.
forward. What? Ah, did they?
Alright, okay, carry on. Craft your narrative. Carry on.
Yeah. You do the same. Get
Craft
over
is
it.
a strong word.
Okay. Fast forward to Rio. They bottle against Furia, a team that they, really shouldn't ever lose against. And then eventually they get rid of Sung Young. Some would say it's the right decision. Probably was. And others would say that's quite unfair. And now they have NPL, who
Just call him Nipple.
I just want to call him Nipple, so I'm just going to call him Nipple.
Just
So
call him
now they
Nipple.
have Nipple, who Harry, I'm gonna let you set the scene on Nipple.
Yeah, he's a young kid. He's in the academy. He's in the academy. He's doing fine in the academy. He's one of the better players in the academy, but he's fine. He's nothing crazy. But I think he actually, I can see Blade's logic, right? Because Boomich, aggressive, Sumdai Young, didn't really do anything. He really was just the warm body. Didn't do anything. At least Nipple is like got a bit of aggression in him that Boomich had. So they've chucked Nipple in, and then they do all this crazy stuff with the rolls as well. But I think Nipple's one of those players where he shouldn't be a Navi while he's 18. Like that's clearly not something that would happen in a normal situation. But then this isn't a normal situation, so it's like I don't know. But he's got that aggression, right? That's the key thing, I think.
Um, I mean, yeah, if you want to look for some positive about Nipple and Nipple's performance, yeah, he's aggressive, and they need aggression, but oh, he's really not great. He,
Yeah, okay. Let's look at they they did have a terrible cow, I think, but Pro League they looked better, right? And I think the actual team as a whole has looked better with Nipple in it than it did with Sum Young after Cologne. After Cologne, this team was like garbage, like invisibly garbage. It played much worse.
was any team really that good after Cologne?
Not the good ones, not the good ones. But they've cut SDY, right? So they've obviously there's something they think that they can be improved, and I think because this is the thing with Nipple is that if you're blaming Navi being bad on Nipple, like I think you're just missing the point completely because this is like look at the other four players. It's not Nipple's fault if they're not winning games. It's never Nipple's fault. Like they've got simple bit and electronic that should beat most teams in the world. And then Vector is the fourth piece. Like come on, like I refuse to believe that it's Nipple's fault if they lose a match. He's got to be tanking so bad, and he's not doing that badly.
Okay, okay. It's certainly not Nipple's fault, except for when he was playing in roles that he shouldn't have been playing. But simple
Not
C to
anymore.
that one. Um, exactly. Um, because at the end of the day, everyone did say that for that extra man, you just need a warm body, and Nipple probably is a warm body,
He plays the right
just about.
roles, whereas SDY was a warm
Yeah,
body who didn't play the right roles.
well, exactly. But does that mean then that the issue actually, or one of them, because let's be fair, this version of Navi is quite a lot of issues. One of those issues is Perfecto, and the fact that Perfecto has been moved into better roles across the board. and for the most part, his rating is exactly the same.
So yeah, obviously he got a few roles, like what you're talking about with Nipple when Nipple was in connector and Bit became the B anchor on Mirage and stuff like that. So then Perfecto got short, right? So it's and Perfecto still has short, I think. Now it's Electronic Con, Nipple B, Bit A, and Perfecto on short, I'm pretty sure. Whereas it always used to be bit spots. Like he got a lot of bits, CT spots, like quite active spots. And yeah, he's still playing the exact same. Like he's just that stable, high floor, low ceiling fourth piece. Like people talk about his clutches, but statistically that's not really a thing. Like he's not clutching more than other players. Like actually Bit and Simple win more clutches than Perfecto. Like he is just that guy who's just doing his role and he's fine. And he's fine. And so I think you've really got to look at, and I don't think it's Perfecto's fault that he's not playing better in those roles. I think it's Bit's fault that Blade feels like he has to move Bit out of those roles because Bit was playing so badly. I think it's Perfecto is going to be stable wherever you put him, right? So, but you're never going to expect a high ceiling from Perfecto. Like he's not a star player. He's never been a star player in Tier 1.
But not is that not then one of the problems that he can't step up when the team needs him to? Like, is that really that unfair to suggest that he should be able to do that?
Maybe because he's still a very good player, and like in past eras, maybe he could be that Magisk level third star. But I think current meta, he's definitely like the fourth player if you want to be a good team. Like he's just that profile. He's the fourth guy, and I think no,
Didn't you once famously say that about Hunter?
Hunter. Oh, we're going there, aren't we?
Yeah,
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 Hunter's a
yeah.
great. Hunter is a fourth star when GC were winning tournaments. I've heard.
All right, okay,
Yeah, no,
okay.
obviously not. We got that one wrong, and you got that one wrong too as
Yeah,
well.
I'll just back to you, mate. You're the smart one.
No, we don't. We don't talk about the old opinions on Hunter.
Anyway,
How
back to
about this? How about
Perfecto.
this? How about this? How about we just saw a difference. We just changed our opinion. That's fine. You're allowed to change your opinion.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Like I changed
We
my
were
opinion on
mature
Bit,
about it.
right? Yeah, because Bit, we heard about Bit. Oh, you just watch a few clips. Oh, he's got really good aim, doesn't he? He's got really good aim. And then AZS tells you he's better than Simple in 2021. And then
Yeah, that was
suddenly
outrageous.
Elliot thinks he's better than Simple. And now you see him when he's not winning every week. He's not in the perfect system against quite a weak scene. Who's only just gone back to LAN, and suddenly he's not the like second best player in the world. He's back to being someone who looks like he's playing like his age now. He's playing like his actual LAN experience. Like he's still got those really high ceilings because of how good he is mechanically. Like he'll play spots like AM Mirage and just drop 21 kills because he kills everyone. Like that still happens, but when you're looking at Bit, it's a case of you see what happens when the house is falling down around him. I think is what's happening right now, where I think it's not that he was a system player back then, because obviously like he was in better individual form, but it's something where when you see a level of drop off that we've seen from Bit, it's like that's not because he's shooting less heads. That's not because he's suddenly now a dumb player. It's like it's probably not on him either, and it's one of those the buck has to land somewhere, right? And it's I think the reason Navi don't look as good anymore is because firepower wise they don't have that third piece. Like Bit and Perfecto, neither of them are consistently getting close to Simple, and even Simple's dropped off a little bit. So it's like with Bit, I don't know where you land on this. To be honest, I think it's. Do you think he's dropped off individually, or do you think the system's dropped off and then he's just not functioning in a broken system?
Um, so I think one of the things you have to look at with Bit is that when people talk about Bit's peak, that peak is often represented in the very early parts of his Navi career, in
On
which
LAN,
we're
yeah.
talking in which we're talking about I think at least a few tournaments online, and then the first few LAN tournaments, in which yeah, he was exceptional. Since then, and granted the system's changed and that could have something to do with it, but since then, what he's actually found is a different level where of course he still has those type of games, as you said, because he's got incredible aim, and I don't think anyone would try and take that from him. But what you actually see now is quite a consistent level, and
Mm.
I think maybe actually we're just seeing bit, and before that we were seeing purple patch bit,
It's
and
one of
that's
those. He's
probably it.
definitely not consistent because he's not consistently bad either. This is what's so frustrating is he's literally yo-yoing. Like he's like you get a different bit every game. It feels like, and at Pro League he was better, right? So it's one of those things. He has a little boost back at Pro League. Like he goes from 1.03 at Kato to 1.112 at Pro League, and suddenly like Navi looked like a different team completely, even if the same semi-final placing. Like so it's the thing as well. We've not mentioned like they come third at 2 events in a row now. Like this is they're going to be boosted up the rankings. Like their
Yeah,
2023 has
yeah,
actually
but
started very well, and
Liquid
but the
get top
reason,
four.
yes, that's what I was getting to. The reason we're talking about Navi is if it's still terrible, is that they don't look like they can win tournaments still. They don't look like the same team. That's the issue. And I think if you're going to talk about Navi, you kind of like we spent 10 minutes not talking about the main difference, and the main difference is that Electronic is still the second star, but he's now IGLing, and it's one of those things where in game, like you can see that he's not like Boomich got a lot of flack, and there was a lot of talk about Blade Puppet Master, that type of thing. But it's still Blade. Like Blade is still here, and this team looks really different, like really different. And I don't know if that's intentional. I don't know if we maybe underrated Boomich in that 2021 run, or if everyone else has got better, or if there's some. It's the case of you just being around the same people for too long. Like Simple's shown some frustration with Blade, things like that. Like I think there's a lot of factors at play. Obviously, the war's a big one as well, for like getting them out of that momentum, and then they haven't really got it back. So it's but like Electronic as an IGL, I know Pimp's very hard on him and thinks he should never be IGLing, and like it's affecting his individual form and stuff. But I think it's not really the reason I'm against it isn't that it's affecting his individual form. It's that I don't think he's getting the best out of the other pieces as well. Like I think if you stick
I
in
mean,
some Russian IGLs bits back, right?
I think the
I don't
interesting
know.
thing you said is like, were we underrating Boomich? And I think, well, yeah, we are a year into electronic IGLing now. I think it's fair to say we probably fucking did. Like,
Mm.
uh, Boomich Navi, whether it was a role balance thing or what that fucking aided it, I don't, I'm not going to claim to know the full truth of it because I feel like probably no one except the 5 players and Blade know the full truth of what's wrong with Navi. Like, man for man, Navi were 2, 3 times as good when Boomich was IGLing, both in terms of things they did in game and the level that was coming out of all the players. Like,
Mm.
there's got to be something there with Boomich as an IGL that Electronic just doesn't have.
Yeah, and I think it's this weird thing where like narrative wise, like we talk about IGLs as if we know what's going on quite a lot, and you never really do. It's just sort of you see like a good mid round, and you just say, oh, that was a good call. That was a good call by Electronic or Boomich or whatever. And I think Boomich kind of got the reverse end of that stick. Like Navi were playing really well, and all the credit went to the simple bit Electronic trio firepower wise, and then Blade for the system. And now it's still the same trio. It's still Blade, but it's very very different. And I'm not going to go out and say that the Boomich was the difference because I don't think that even Boomich at the start of 2022 was not calling that well. They looked kind of fragmented before, like that. Like they got to the Antwerp final and they just didn't look like they could stand up to FaZe really. Like it was Cologne where they looked more threatening, and that was with SDY and the honeymoon with Electronic IGLing, right? So and that win at Blast finals, of course, in Lisbon. So it's like
Does it count?
I don't know, it's tricky. Well, it's a big event. It's a big arena. Come on, that counts.
Oh yeah, I can't say that now. Doesn't matter. Doesn't
Yeah,
cut that.
Blast.tv, right? Sam McKenzie. God, that's a Blast.tv exclusive right there.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Blast doesn't count. But yeah, it's like, but the
Hey,
other
it counts
tricky
when it
thing,
fits my agenda.
the other tricky thing
Anyway,
is that yes, yes, your agenda's famous. So what about Simple though? Because he's like, he was the best player in the world in 2022, even if it was pretty close and a lower level than he was in 2021. Like, it can, both things can be true at the same time, right? Like, you can, like, a lot of Simple's criticism is probably a bit harsh because he's still like probably I think he's the third best player against like top 20 teams this year, like in 2023, and it's like people are acting like he's dead. Um, but I think there is like a little, like, he misses shots he never used to miss, right? It's the thing where I think you see it with quite a few big players, like with Nico as well, a few times. Like, if he's in a team where they're just struggling and they're just dysfunctional, there's two options, right? They either carry the shit out of them, like Nico did with Mouse Sports and like Nico did with the Nexa G2, or like with Simple did with Edward and Flamey. Or there's this option where they sort of, it looks like they're coasting a bit. It looks like they're sort of relying on their talent to still drop 1.2 ratings, but they're not carrying a bad team. They're sort of wallowing in it, and that's sort of
well,
where I think Simple is
so
right now. I don't know.
here's the thing with Simple, right? Simple, above all the Navi players, has always been very vocal about how this war has like personally affected him. You know, like he's not seen his family. He spent however long living in hotels. There was that whole incident back in Pro League season 16 that doesn't need to go into for whatever shit show it was. And look, there's certain people who now are turning around and being like, oh yeah, you can't keep blaming the war. Fuck that. Personally, like I I don't see how you can't
Mm,
keep allowing that to be a factor. Like that's not that whole thing is not something that's gonna fucking get easier because oh yeah, but you've been living with it for a year now. It's probably why it gets harder. It's probably why it like makes it harder to perform, makes it harder to stay motivated, makes it harder to like even fucking get out of bed because like you know even if you thought at a year ago, oh this could go on for 6 months, this could go on for a year on, like what's changed?
mm.
Doesn't look like stopping anytime soon. I mean, like how is the dude meant to think any differently? Like, if not think worse? I don't understand that.
Yeah, and this applies to all of them, of course. Like it's the same for Bit. Like, Simple gets all the press about it, but Bit's very young, and I'm sure it's like, I don't know as much about Bit's situation because he doesn't really give English interviews and stuff. But like it must be pretty similar. Like, I'm sure he's had to move. He's definitely had to move. I know Simple's moved to Poland now, pretty permanently, I think. Um, so yeah, it's the and Blade as well. Blade's Ukrainian. Um, and also, of course, Electronic and Perfecto have had to leave Russia. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if they've actually left Russia, but I know that Navi wouldn't have kept them if they weren't at least like got a concrete plan to relocate, right?
I
So it's
imagine
like,
they
it's
have.
yeah, I'm not 100% on that, but like it's the type of thing where like it's the cloud over the whole team, right? Like, it's all of them, and it seems to have affected them in a way that maybe a team like Cloud9, who was sort of just all about CS, they just sort of moved to Serbia and they're fine. Like, they're fine. They can still go back. Um, Cloud9 don't seem as arsed as Navi, because obviously Navi is the Ukrainian brand, and that's also put them in a bit of a hole in terms of new recruitment. Like, they can't, like, NPL's Ukrainian, of course. SDY was Ukrainian. They wanna have that at least 3-man Ukrainian core. So like, there's a lot of stuff like, oh, just get Jerry in, and it's like, yeah, on paper it's like, it's a bit weird. It's a bit like putting, I don't know, it's like putting a Project IGL into the best team in the region. It's kind of weird on paper, but
Getting
like,
shakes
there's
if
some
we're on
logic to
liquid.
it, right? Like, he's probably the best ex CIS IGL out there, but I don't think it's even an option in Navi's head to be looking at buying players from Russian
Well,
orgs, buying
also
Russian players. Like,
this is
it's
the thing, right?
they're a bit stuck.
Like Navi said a year ago, like we will not be signing more Russian players. Like, we are the Ukrainian organization. We won't be supporting Russia. We won't be doing this. We won't be doing that. And that is completely understandable.
Hmm.
But the thing that's happened since then is that they signed a pretty good Valorant team. And that Valorant team, like, two of its biggest stars are Sugetsu and Shao, who both happen to be Russian. That team is also led by Angel, a
Who's the
Ukrainian,
org they bought them from?
Fun Plus Phoenix.
Okay, so it's Chinese org then, not Russian. Because
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's the thing. I don't think they care as much about the players if they're not paying taxes to Russia. I think
Also, here's the thing
it's the
though,
org.
right? Here's the thing though. That Valorant team also has a Swede on it in Zipan, and at the time it had Ardis, who is is a Scouser but uses the Lithuanian flag, and now has Sined, who's Turkish. What does the Navi team have in CS?
Well, yeah, for free Ukrainians to Russians.
Yeah. So, uh, like, Russians in that sense are just
Part of an
very,
international.
very off the cards because, they're not gonna want people to view them as this majority Russian team, which means that, someone like Jerry is also, as a result, off the cards. However, there is one player that I would like to suggest,
I have
and
no idea what this is going to be now.
it does sound very, very stupid
Oh God.
when you consider the team he's currently playing for, but Nilan.
Okay. Okay. So okay. So here's one question: if Neeland had stayed in K23 and done nothing, like he's done nothing with EG, just at a few more high-profile events, what would you be saying? What has Neeland done that convinces you that he's a better IGL than Electronic?
Um, I think EG looked noticeably better as soon as he came in.
Yeah. And to be
Like,
fair, as much as I'm now going to disagree with my own point because I think it's Carrigan on Pro League that said like they stole loads of defaults from EG. So like apparently they were when they were looking at EG, like what they were bad at was getting out of the default, but like he really liked the way they structured and got map control. He thinks it's just the final
wow,
hurdle
they
and
just like us
individual
for
stuff. Yeah,
real.
yeah, literally they're rattlesnakes. They're literally losing TGL games because they can't get out of a default. But I think that was quite interesting because it's like that is like a good sign for Neelan and Vorborg. But yeah, but Navi, like it's a different.
Oh,
Is
it's a
Simple gonna
completely different
respect?
ballpark.
Is Simple gonna respect a Neelan call at
It's a
14-14 against
completely
FaZe?
different
I don't know.
ballpark. But with everything we've said in the past 20 minutes or whatever it is, tell me that the prospect of getting in an actual IGL, someone who does just go into it believing he's an IGL, not believing he's the second star of the team that came in and
Mm,
saved this team from Edward and Flamey in 2018 or whatever it was, 2017, and actually just IGL. Tell me that's not better.
yeah, it's probably yeah. Neelan for Niffle is probably a better team. Yeah, it is. It is. But
Because at the end of the day, if something doesn't change soon, I mean, you could also go and just sign Wonderful or Wrinkle or do something stupid and put Simple on a rifle
mm,
just to bring more firepower in. Like, that's also doable. But at the end of the day, if something like this doesn't happen and Simple keeps feeling the way he does, like, don't forget a year ago the bloke turned around and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm probably going to take a break at some point."
mm.
We could see the greatest player in the history of Counter Strike just dip. Like, he could just leave.
Yeah, I know Richard Lewis said this recently. Like he sees Valorant in the future, and well, I think that is the key point because as much as we can talk about like fun rosters, like with Wonderful, like that would be really fun, even if they had to spend a lot of money to get him out of Spirit and whatever. It's it doesn't change the fact of what we've saying the whole time, which is that the problem with Navi is it's not the fifth player. It's not the fifth player. It's probably not really electronic. It's that everything's happening at once. Like Bit and Simple are affected by the war and individual levels dropped off. Electronic has had to adapt to IGLing, also affected by the war, also dropped off. Like he's played so many maps in his career. He's those careers aren't going to last forever. Like Simple's already had like a superhuman level of longevity. Like it's not going to be forever. This guy's been like the best player in the world since what 2017 probably for my money. Um,
Yeah.
Lost a few number ones, but like he's up there. Like he's playing as well as a number one player. It's just that Zarya was also playing as a number one level player for a few years. Like I think Simple's like 6 years in an esport. Like that is like we know who we're talking about. It's the GOAT, right? But it would be nice if they got something together and made something of this year because I don't think they're going to be ever. I don't think we're going to see any team hit as high a short peak as they did in 2021. They were just front run. They were front running everyone. They were just steamrolling every match. Like the Rammer percentage was nuts. Like I think it was above 60% for like a good few months on LAN. Like they just won every single map like 16-9, 16-8. Like they're not going to get back there. It was too perfect. It was too good a time for them. Too many other teams weren't ready after so long online and with imperfect rosters and whatever. Like it's just that shouldn't be the goal for them. The goal should be to do more of what they're doing now, which is slowly getting better. Even though you look at the pieces and say, "Oh, this is still not good enough. This is still not good enough." Like they should be playing phase closer in Pro League or whatever. But like I think there's if you're going to try and be positive, I like to try. I think 2023's looked a lot better. It has looked a lot better, and you never know what could happen. I don't think roster changes will come soon, from what Blade has been saying in interviews about how much he believes in this electronic IGL thing. Look, it's Blade's. Look, Simple can question Blade. I can't question Blade. I'm just going to leave that. So it's I think it is as ever a bit of a case of wait and see on things like Bit's consistency. Like they've moved him around a lot. He's now anchoring like basically every site. Like he plays Pit, he plays A Mirage. Like they're clearly trying to mold him as this sort of like this Magus type player with
Definitely should
Perfecto as
be an
the
A
small
Mirage
site,
player,
right?
by the way. Like if your aim works the way his does and you're not playing A Mirage,
I think that's the logic, yeah.
come off it.
Yeah, like A
Like
Mirage, Pit. Where else does he play? What's the other stereotypical like nuke ramp? Like it's those spots. Those are the spots that you look at and you think put someone with really good aim on that head glitch and have him shoot people. Like that's what they've done with Bit, but it leaves a lot of burden on electronic as that rotator because if Bit's anchoring, then Perfecto is going to be stable and passive, and electronic is just going to have to do so much more. And it's like when you look at big picture of this team, it just doesn't look like it fits as well as the old one did. I think just having
no, it
Boomich,
certainly doesn't.
having Bit as the stable rotator to free electronic, and then Perfecto small site, Boomich big site, it just feels better. And I think with Nipple, it's one of those. As much as I'm very big on your fifth player can't save you, or like your fifth player shouldn't be the reason you win tournaments, lose tournaments. It's good. It's just hard to see them beating out teams like G2 and FaZe who have so much firepower. Like I never thought I'd see the day where I'm saying Navi lack firepower against top teams, but I
But
think
but
with all of their
the
form
thing
dropping
is,
off, I think
like
they do.
the problem the problem isn't it isn't so much that Nipple is bad. It's the fact that Perfecto's also not great. It's the same problem as Astralis with Zip and Glaive right now, and
Perfectus and good
it's what
0.15 rating above those two,
well,
but
okay, yeah, he is, but he's still you know not like he's still not good enough to be in those spots to give them that level against the teams who are ahead of them. Like when you look at Heroic, they they share their kills really well. You look at G2, they're pretty similar. Like the firepower deficit is just there because those two players can't make it up.
Yeah, yeah, but I think it's hard to build that consistent base now, right? Like I think it's what I was saying about a bit earlier. I don't think the bit leaving his anchor roles is necessarily bit going to anchor roles. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily his issue, as much as it is the team deciding that that's what needs to happen, and they're just in that tricky situation now.
Okay, so I guess there is one thing left to talk about, and that is, it's kind of a tired narrative now, so we'll add something extra into it. If Navi knew what was going to happen was was going to happen, would they have let Munacy go? And even though Blade said like he doesn't think he's ready for tier 1 CS or whatever, how much better would they be if that fifth player was Headtrick, Orpin or Rifling instead of Nipple?
Headtrick's difficult because I don't really know enough about how he'd rifle because he's sort of been that Orpa since Manassi left. Um, but the Manassi one, yeah, you can't look at this team and not think that maybe have simple in bits old roles, have bit perfecto anchors, simple electronic start riflers, and then Manassi Orping. Like that team just is better, isn't it? It just is better. You can let electronic go down to third, fourth star, become pure IGL, like play the tough roles that Boomich used to do. Like it changes the way you look at the whole team, right? Like it's a completely different prospect when you have simple on the rifle. And I know they tried it with Guardian, and it's something our mate Charlie says all the time. Like you, that was the wrong time to try that. Like simple as a rifler and someone else AWPing is is probably bad if the AWP is anyone apart from maybe Manassi. Manassi and Zai. I'd let Manassi and Zaiwu AWP in the same team as simple. I'm not sure I'd let anyone else.
So yeah, like Guardian, it was just dead on arrival. Like he just wasn't good anymore.
Mm.
Like
Krieg Meta
that is
2, like
that is just the unfortunate fact, considering he is who he is. But yeah, like the simple rifle experiment isn't one that is permanently doomed to fail. Like there is there is a Munacy out there who would justify it. Are you telling me that like okay? So the thing is, with any of these players that there's been these questions with, Zaiwu and like Device, Munacy, like all of them, they could all rifle as well because they're all just fucking good players.
mm,
But when you're at the point Navi's at, it's almost the point where it probably shouldn't just be a thought experiment anymore. And if the possibility's there, even if you get someone who is just a far worse AWPer, like no one's going to pretend that
mm,
Wonderful's anywhere near as good at AWPing as Simple is. Munacy and Zaiwu and Device, they all might have been, whatever. Wonderful ain't. No, like no one's going to pretend that. But Simple would be a lot better rifle than Nipple. It lets Perfecto go back to doing what he's good at. Like it would just be better overall. And that's the unfortunate thing that it feels like that's the inevitability.
I think I disagree going that far. I don't think Wonderful in for Nipple makes this team better. I think it's the thing the thing I always say these days about AWPing. You want your best players to have the best gun. Like I think Simple and Wonderful in the same team. I'd still have Simple AWPing. Like I don't think that's worth the swap. The thing that's so unique about the Manassi situation is that it was quite obvious that he was going to be very very good at the game. And if Navi hadn't been the best team in the world still, they wouldn't sell him to G2. They'd sell him with a buyback clause or loan him somewhere or or even like keep him stewing in the academy for another 6 months, but and just see what happens. But they were on top of the world, like they were winning everything. There's so many unique things that caused them to sell Manassi, and I don't think they can substitute that by signing Wonderful or using head triggers and all. Like I don't think that's better. I think you get a worse Simple, and like if you think about how Simple plays, we talk about him as like this crazy rotator. Like, could he do it with a rifle? How would Simple be as a rifle in a team where Manasi's the one playing B one round, A 1 round? Like
Probably
it's
exceptionally.
probably fine, and I think it's worth it for Manasi. But if you think about the way Simple lobs, a lot of it is just where he is. It's the positioning. Like, yes, he hits the crazy shots, but lots of people hit crazy shots. No one can rotate like Simple can. And if Simple's in a team with Wonderful and Wonderful's missing rotates all the time, like it's just a worse team. It's a worse team. I think with Manassi it's worth it. Don't think for anyone else. I think that's such a unique thing of Manassi's clearly baby goat, like future goat, hopefully. And they let him go for not that much money,
Until
really.
CS2 kills him. How much money?
Well,
It's quite
yeah,
a lot
there
of
is that.
money.
It's a lot of money, but if how much would you have valued Simple at in 2016? Today's money. Well, not 2016. It's
Oh,
more like
I'm not.
Simple.
I'm not saying it's not
It's not
justified,
comparable,
but
but yeah.
it's certainly not a small amount of money.
But yeah, that's just
But
it's a fun thought experiment, isn't it? Manassi and Navi, but I don't think
yeah,
it's obviously not feasible now. And Navi still have a pretty good team. They've got a pretty good team. They've been top four the two big events this year. They've got a very easy RMR group. They're going to be in Paris. And we'll see. We'll see how they do there. I think.
well, that's the thing. Like their RMR group, really, when you look at it compared to the second one, it just couldn't be easier. I mean, their first match is against a fucking UK team. We know how that's gonna go. It won't be pretty.
Well, Endpoint. Do you remember what Endpoint did to them?
Pro League Mickey Mouse doesn't count.
Okay, there you go. Blast.tv, right? He's back.
I've gotta have my bit. Um, look. Okay, Navi sometimes, they do lose the first game of tournaments, whatever. I know Endpoint wasn't that, but historically they've done it, and it was a bit funny. RMRs aren't that. Like FaZe and Navi, unless they play each other, they are going to Frio in that RMR. They just will.
I'm still putting
And,
two Virtus Pro players in my fantasy team though.
well, of course, you
Yeah,
can't not do that. They do play optimal Counter Strike.
they do.
But they will Frio because at the end of the day, both Navi and FaZe beat it outside. Virtus Pro. It's Virtus Pro now.
It is Virtus Pro.
It is. Both of those teams still beat Virtus Pro, and that is
Yeah,
just
they
fact
should
of
do
it.
right.
But the thing is, the RMR, it matters, but in theory, it should never matter for a team like Navi, for a team like FaZe,
No.
for a team like G2, except that one time it did. Because they should just get to the major. The thing that matters is when you look at this Navi, all you can think is that it must be a miracle if they then win that major, which means the greatest player in Counter-Strike Global Offensive is going to finish the game with one major.
Yeah, well,
And
that's
that's
the
just
narrative,
kind of a
isn't it?
tragedy.
It
Like,
is, but it's the type of thing where I was always in that camp where I didn't want Simple to win a major. I wanted Simple to end CS:GO as the GOAT, but someone who hadn't won a major, because then people would have to actually talk about what they mean when they say GOAT. It wouldn't just be rings. It wouldn't just be, oh, he won the most majors. It wouldn't be that. If Simple had ended CS:GO without that major, but had still been obviously the best player for 7 years of its 11-year span, like he is the GOAT to anyone reasonable, and you'd have to think about things differently. But now he's got his major. He's like, oh, he's got a major. He's got a Grand Slam. He's a GOAT. Now it's that. Now you can be
so,
reductive about it.
so could you remind me what football team you support again?
Liverpool, mate. Yeah. Why is
Yeah,
that
Steven
relevant?
Gerrard debate.
It is a
Just
little bit Steven Gerrard, yeah.
isn't it?
It is a little bit.
Little
Just,
Yeah, he's a fraud anyway.
yeah, I didn't even realise that. You Freuded me there, Jesus.
I did.
Yeah.
He is that guy. But no, look, like at the end of the day, Simple's gonna finish Global Offensive with the only Mickey Mouse Grand Slam and
I mean, Liquids was very Mickey
probably
Mouse.
probably the best. No, Liquids is short dominance that's really impressive. Navi's is online.
Article
Um,
Chemistry.
but like, middle ground coming soon. But uh, but their major win is what it was. It is the best major win of all time. That is without a doubt. And it is just a shame that at least in Global Offensive, like that is going to be something that gets held over Simple when the eventual debate hopefully comes between him and Monacy.
Yeah, that's the thing. CS2. But this Navi team, they've still got a chance. I think this narrative is pretty set in stone, but who's to say? One last major, one last huge kick of motivation for Electronic and Simple as, to get back going again and for Bit to find a little bit of consistency. I don't think it feels pretty impossible for them to win that major, but also I wouldn't be surprised if somehow they did. Like that would be that they're pretty strong dark horses for me, I think. But they are dark horses, so that's where the narrative is now, I think.
Well, you've got to put them as like fourth, fifth favourites, I think. But
Yeah.
that's still a long way off the top three.
Hmm.
But that's Navi deconstructed. Anyway, that's all we've got time for. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week, sometime ish, with
Stralis.
Astralis. That was a fun one. Quite fond of that
Fossil
one.
after fossil. We love fossils.
Ah, the greatest organisation of all time. The reason we became friends.
We're
Well,
not friends.
and annoying AZ-esque. Ah, true. We're lovers. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stick around on Insite.